So the Skipper 2 is aimed at particularly at cross-country pilots, ambitious cross-country pilots who are looking to do long technical flights, and people getting into cross-country competitions. It's not got a great big fairing on the back like the full comp harness. It's aimed particularly at safety, so you've got a big protection, lots of protection. So this is a pre-production model, so it's Supair tell me it's pretty much the finished thing, but there might be some little details that might change when they bring out the final version coming out soon. Their emphasis is on safety and performance, comfort, control, rather than, for example, lightweight and minimalist. This is not a lightweight minimalist harness, although it's much lighter than and much less bulky than the full comp harnesses, and much more manageable than that. So this harness is, I think, 5.8 kilos for the medium size, roughly. So quite a bit heavier than what I normally fly with. They've made this very easy harness. It's very easy to get into and move around on the ground. You don't feel encumbered by a great big bulk and weight. Whereas, for example, with the full comp harnesses, like the Cooltail Colibri, the Genie Race 4, you kind of feel like you're waddling about like a big penguin on launch. And with this, you don't have that at all. It's very easy. But it's got a lot of the features you'd expect to see on a full comp harness. So, for example, you've got the under-seat reserve here, which is designed to fit all sizes of solo reserve. I've got a high adventure beamer 3, that's my primary reserve. And as you can see here, a very nice clean reserve system. The handle's very easy to get. Held on by a little bit of Velcro there, which holds it nice and tidy. I found that really secure with the nylon pins there, so it's really easy to check your reserve. The second reserve, you've got an option of having a front mount reserve, and I think Supair have done this really nicely. It's really clean, sits in there really easily. I've got a companion SQR Light 120. So front reserve, I prefer to have something a bit lighter. So that's in there, and that fits really easy. I could certainly fit a bigger reserve if I wanted. And the system for attaching this is really well thought out. When you put it all together, it takes a little bit of getting your head around putting the straps, but when you clip in, it's a simple clip in like so. We received the harness with the normal flight deck supplied. You actually get both, surprisingly. So Supair supply you with both options, so you've got them to use if you want. And as you can see, the flight deck, it just zips on. So you've got these zips here. It's actually pretty easy to do. That unzips on both sides, like so. And you've got an extra little popper. And then with the bridles, that holds it very securely. It's quite a generous flight deck. You can easily fit 2 or even 3 instruments on this flight deck. You can put your battery pack in there. Lots of space inside, and a storage packet, so you can put your snack bars and whatever you want in the front of there. This certainly isn't a harness that's lacking in space. It's got a lot of storage, as you'll see. The harness is delivered with a nice removable flight panel with Velcro on it, which fits perfectly. And it's got a lip on the front to protect your instruments. You can see this harness is sort of somewhere between the lightweight XC pod harnesses and the full comp harnesses. It's got a very stiff, reinforced, very supportive back that you might expect to see on a full comp harness. And these quite stiff sides, and when you're flying you feel very supported on your back, and on the sides you feel very in contact with the harness. So all in all, the feeling you have when you're in the harness is very supported up the sides on your back, so it's very comfortable. And when you're doing things like wing overs, this is a great harness for doing that, with the seat plate as well. You feel really in contact with the harness, and you stay in contact with it as you're doing your wing overs. Something I noticed the difference between some of the lighter pod harnesses with less support on the back, or with the hammock style harnesses, is when you do high G maneuvers, you kind of get this feeling of like being flexed back. You don't feel quite as supported, and you feel like you need to bring your legs in more. Otherwise you get this kind of like on your back. With this style of harness, like the comp harnesses, you don't. You feel very supported, even when you're doing a high G maneuver like a spiral dive to get down, or just for fun, or spiraled wing overs. It's really good. With the Skipper 2, you've got a bit more feedback than you do with the Delight 3. It's not lots of feedback. It's not like a sort of acro harness or unstable or weight shifty. It's got a very stable, secure feeling to it, but you feel like you can feel what the glider's doing. You feel well informed with what's going on, but the feeling is more on the comfortable, stable side of it, rather than the sort of wagger, unstable feeling. It has a nice balanced feeling about it. It's got a very generous storage in the back, which is great. No problem at all fitting everything in there, even my chunky slip sandals and everything in the back, so it's pretty large. Your pocket to put your camelback in, your drink system. Yeah, so you've got our reserve attachment systems. The harness has the loops stitched in, and that's a zip system, and that runs all the way down to here, to the reserve system. Maybe a little minor criticism that I have for the Skipper 2, which is actually similar to the Delight 3, is just the way they've finished off the zip. It has a slight tendency to come undone. Mind you, I actually haven't touched that for a week in Tenerife, and that's all that's come undone. Very much like the Delight 3, it's not a hazard that the reserve's never going to come out. It's just kind of, to the perfectionists out there, it's just slightly annoying, that's all. But all you have to do is run the zip down and back up. Yep. That's for chaining your monkey too. So for your monkey, you just attach him on there, and then he can, yeah, you don't lose your monkey basically. So that's a useful feature. All right, it's not for your monkey. So this is for your drogue chute, and Supair supply. You've got a webbing strap that runs through, and they supply it with a mayon and the O-ring to attach it to. Nice thing is that you can access it from both sides. So you can access it from that side as well. We've got a pocket which they're aiming at for a satellite tracker. Perhaps another small criticism is that this is apparently perfect for a spot, but apparently it doesn't quite fit a DeLorme. So it would be nice, Supair, if you'd make it a little bit bigger. This is a radio pocket on this side. There's another pocket on this side, which actually sort of more of a horizontal pocket. Found that very good for putting a camera pole in. So there is, under here, there's an underseat ballast pocket. It's not as big as you might expect. Yeah. It's not particularly big. It's only, well, actually one part of their literature it says 3.5 litres, another part says 5 litres. So looking at it, I'd say more like the 3.5 litres. Yeah. Felt to me like I probably need the large size. I'm 6 foot, 183 centimetres, so feels like it's really important if you're in that in-between stage that you should try both sizes, the medium and the large, to make sure you've got the right size. So I did struggle a little bit getting in, but I think that's just because I probably need the size up.
Okay, and I'm 174, and I flew the same harness and I found the same thing. So I think it is.
Oh, really?
I think it is a bit difficult to get in. Like you want to use a little ball and bungee.
Yeah.
I think because it seems to like hug your legs.
Yeah.
That when you try and get your feet in, it's not impossible, but it's difficult. I found I had to let go and hook my foot in.
No, yeah, the skipper too. It's interesting to work out exactly which pilots is this harness aimed at, because some pilots will probably, from our experience fitting lots of pilots, they tend to either be thinking, oh, I want the lightweight, and they might go for something lighter weight, or they want performance, and then they go to the comp harnesses. But what we find is often the pilots who do that, they go to the lightweight, find they want something with more stability, more control, and more safety. And so that's exactly where the Supair are thinking with the Skipper 2. Likewise, some other pilots think, oh, I want the performance, I want the great control and performance. They've flown a lighter harness and found with that, especially the higher performance glider, the higher aspect ratio, there's too much movement, and so they want more performance. And then they try a full comp harness and find they're like, oh my God, I put a truck on my back. So this is exactly where this harness is. It fits in between those. It's like a really keen cross-country pilot who wants to fly big distances and fly for many hours. Also pilots who enjoy doing wing overs and want the control to throw their glider about and have fun, and want that extra control, but they don't want the full bulk of it. I think as well, this is one of the lightest options that you can to having full features like the 2 reserves with a very well designed front reserve system and the underseat reserve plus the drogue chute. So you've got all those features. So I think that's where this harness works really well. The Skipper 2 is ideal for cross-country pilots who are looking for an all-in-one harness that's got all the features and the safety, the 2 reserves. It's got an 18 centimeter back protector who emphasizes on safety, control, but don't want the full bulk of a competition style harness. Here I have a Skipper 2 in a bag. You'll be confused because it's a gin bag for a Supair harness, and you'll see inside there's a Skywalk glider just to confuse the f*** out of you. So, my gosh, Greg is already having fun editing this. This is the sound of me undoing the straps, Greg. Done, done, done.